G'day, guys. Welcome back to another week of the NRL Supercoach Talk Draft Waiver Wire podcast. As per normal, it's Chris and Simon here with you to go through the waiver wire targets. Hi, Chris.
Yeah, mate. Bit of a head cold coming on. Everyone's feeling sorry for me, I bet, but we'll soldier on, mate. Let's get it.
Yeah, let's get into it. Hey, pretty quick podcast tonight. Just a bit time poor tonight, so we'll try and just fly through a couple of the more obvious claims and. Hopefully, you can get your waivers in pronto. Try and get a few guys tonight or in the morning. All right, let's get straight into the games. So Thursday this week at 7:50 is Parramatta at home to Penrith. Now for Parramatta, Sivo's back. I doubt he would be on waivers in many leagues, but if he is, he's a pretty high claim. What do you reckon?
Yep.
It's stuck into old Sivo. Anyone else for Parramatta for you, mate? Like Will Smith again. Probably didn't really do a hell of a lot on the weekend, but he was someone we mentioned last week.
Probably not a horrible matchup if you need to just plug him in, and will look like he'll play the big buy round. So I'm okay with him as a free agent pickup if he's still sitting there.
And also, it's interesting change here to see Ferguson make his way into centre. Does that make George Jennings a bit more attractive?
It does. I think it's a pretty good matchup as well. Looking at that, you got either which side will Jennings be on there?
I would say he's playing outside Fergo on the right.
On the right, so he'd be up against so Josh.
Yeah, Mansell
would be So Mansell being back, obviously we'll get to it in a sec. I feel like that's not the worst. So I'm actually okay with that, and looking like he'll probably play next week as well. Then.
Yeah, no, I'd say Michael Jennings is at least another week away.
Yep.
But yeah, nice little sneaky one there. But other than that, probably
hurts Ferguson a bit, mate.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Like a few less base stat runs and whatnot.
Yeah, I really think it does. I don't like it Ferguson at all. It could be one of those times to maybe just test the waters a little bit, but it shouldn't. Jenko will definitely be back in the centres, won't he? There's no like issue with Jenko's form, I don't think.
No, it's not Jennings. It's the fact that Takarangi's been dropped to the bench is the real worry.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because Michael Jennings comes back and then Hoffman leaves the side, but you've still got Ferguson and Takarangi. That issue still remains. So it is a bit of a hit rest of season if this remains. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. Over to the Panthers, look, Dylan Edwards has kept his spot at fullback. He didn't really live up to the billing of a claim that we were touting last week, but
still okay with it.
You know, we kind of knew that it's a long season play with him, so we'll see how that goes going forward, especially with the buy round coming up. As you said before, Mansell was back. He'd be dropped in more leagues than his own at the moment. So, are you interested at all?
I'm going to say I'll give him the benefit of the doubt with pedigree as a super low claim, considering that looks like he probably will play the buy round now. But geez, a shell of the player he was, and not in a, as we know, mate, wingers insides that aren't cranking along too well generally don't have very good Supercoach output.
No, that is true. I guess the interesting one here is Jerome Luai. Now, I've missed the news on Maloney. Is he
suspended for a week, mate? Yeah, okay. Just for a week. So, look, it's probably not a great matchup. Parramatta, I imagine, will be pretty tight again after that big explosion against Melbourne a couple of weeks ago. So, I like him as a player. He's really good fun, but it's really only 1 week rental. Rental.
It's interesting. Like you say that, but you're going to get him the week after as well. We're assuming Cleary makes Origin, which
do you think so? That's looking more and more doubtful, to be honest. But you reckon Fittler will stick true there, or?
Yeah, well, it depends what your thoughts are. I think it's really close. I do think it's 50-50 whether he makes the team. So,
okay.
I just think in terms of Luai, you've just got that. It's not like it's dead in the water where he is only a 1 week play. He is potentially a 2 week play.
Okay, low end free agent, that is fine. Probably not a great matchup this week though.
No, it's definitely not a good matchup.
Just a quick one for me. Sione Katoa picked again to start in the hooker role. Wow.
It's a no from me.
No, I meant more just real life as well as Supercoach. Wow. Like, you can't play much worse than stay in first grade.
Yeah, no, there's got to be someone else out there. There just has to be. But anyway. it kind of makes me more interested in Egan again when he does return, but
It does.
he hasn't really shown much either with 80 minutes, so bit of a problem. On to the next game of the round on Friday, 6 o'clock. You've got Manly at home to the Titans. These Sea Eagles, they just keep on keeping on, don't they?
Amazing they keep winning considering the obvious two biggest name players are out. It's incredible, to be honest. So must be a fun time to be a Manly fan. From the waiver front, is this a weird time to fire up Ruben Garrick, considering he's goal kicking and playing the Titans?
I'd say so. Yeah, it's a pretty good recipe for Supercoach success this year. Fire up a goal kicker against the Titans.
Goal kicking winger against the Titans. It sounds about right to me. I didn't hate the look of Dylan Walker first game back with a solid sort of 50 score he put together. I'm happy to fire him up again here as well.
Yeah, no, he looked good. Also, the new name, Cade Cuss, halfback only. Looked all right in real life. I didn't really follow him too much from a fantasy perspective week one. Obviously, Manly played the bye, so I guess that makes him semi-relevant, but he's a wait and see. Just give him another week before you go jumping on for waivers. Just a free agent if you're that way inclined. Over to the Gold Coast. Now, still no Michael Gordon, which is good for Brimson owners, but there's a pretty good chance that Brimson was picked up last week. He was the top of our waivers last week.
Mate, if people listen to our podcast, he definitely should have been picked up, and we know that all our listeners tune in every week.
That's exactly it, mate. Look, Jesse Arthurs, I quite like the look of him. I think he's a good-looking player.
How long is it for, though? They finally realised that, look, I shouldn't say finally realised. I was excited to see Peachy as a starting centre, but it really hasn't amounted to much. So he'll be more explosive off the bench from here. So maybe they'll give Arthurs a good crack.
Yeah, I think he's an up-and-coming player that deserves a spot. And, yeah, I guess when Michael Gordon comes back, it's not going to affect Arthurs too much. So I think he's a good little pickup with the bye round also looming, which he'll be playing in. Look, anything else from the Titans here, mate? Like, there's not much that really attracts me here.
Yeah, Kevin Proctor, he'll be a popular buy round purchase, pickup, sorry. If you wanted to go a week early just to slot him into your TRF, he's okay.
Yeah. Okay, next game, you got the Roosters away at the Knights, mate. It's our grudge match this week. Look out. Yeah,
mate. High-flying Knights. It's shaped as the match of the round, really.
Yeah, look, I can't believe that the Knights have tinkered with their side after the way they played on the weekend.
Yeah, very interesting to have done that. I agree with you. I thought Kurt Mann in there looked really good. So, yeah, surprising.
I'm not a fan of it. Like, you should just leave that.
You should. Mate, give him a chance. Kurt Mann's proven he can be good at the NRL level. I think you run with that and the good feeling there. So Connor Watson hasn't lit it up when he's been starting. So
yeah, no, it's an unusual rotation of players that the Knights have employed this year, just with all their forwards that they seem to go through. Like, Clem has been a constant in the front row, but that other front row opposite him has just been a who's who of random guys, whether it's been Saifidi, Glasby moved up there. They had King for a while. Gav A, our best mate. He's like, there's lots of stuff. But anyway, look, Kurt Mann would have been the one that would have been mentioned on waivers. Obviously, he's been pushed back to the bench. If he was named, I know he's not, but hypothetically, if there is a late switch, just for the listeners' sake, how high would you have been on Kurt Mann if you knew he was in the 6?
Too hard to burn a high claim just because of the amount of options the Knights do have there in that 6. And obviously they've invested some in Connor Watson, and Connor can only play really 5/8 from here, I guess. I guess you could say maybe he could be the bench utility and if Mann earned his spot, but there's always going to be that issue going forward. So I wouldn't have got too excited just yet, but if you and also considering the matchup, I probably wouldn't have suggested a waiver.
Yeah, no, that's true. I would agree with all of that. Onto the Roosters now. Corden has returned, so there's not too much to do there. I see that Ryan Hall's also back on the extended bench with Tupou coming back and Ikavalu keeping his spot. So that kind of gives you a rough idea about where he is in the pecking order, given the fact that Ikavalu's there. I think it does mean that Ryan Hall is not really someone of discussion on waivers. Probably would have been a little bit a little bit optimistic about his chances had he have kept that spot over Ikuvalu, but probably not really now. So I guess that really amounts to not much for the Roosters in terms of waivers.
Yeah, nothing there, mate. Move on.
On to the Raiders. Now, pretty interesting news here. Kotrick stays at centre, which is pretty good for his value, as we kind of touched on last week. But Tarpany is back on the bench. That is interesting news.
It is. I feel like it might just be one of those ease him back in, but he won't be long off a starting spot. So you would think. So which one makes way? Will he play on an edge? Will he play lock when he comes back?
You'd imagine he'd play on the edge, wouldn't he? Like that's kind of been his spot.
You would think so. It's just, I mean, Hudson Young then obviously becomes questionable for the bye round.
Yeah, I do worry about Tapani getting back to 80 minutes at all this year. I'm not really sure what to think of it. I can't decide what my thoughts are. I'm not all in on him getting 80, but I'm not like there's a pathway to him also earning it back. I just don't have a strong opinion on it.
I think he's waiverable because the chance of that happening is there. I agree. I reckon it's less likely he ends up back in an 80-minute role.
You're probably right, especially once Bateman returns.
Yes. Considering, however, it seems to be a pretty quiet week waivers-wise, I think I'm okay with anyone taking a punt on whatever waiver you want to there, just because you will get the bye round coverage as well.
Yeah, that's true. You can kind of look at it as if it's a two birds with one stone type of proposition for you. So, yeah, other than him, is there anyone else for Canberra for you?
Negative. Move on.
No
Oh, actually, look, if you wanted to with this matchup, it seems everyone's scoring against the Cowboys. So, if you want to fire up Oldfield or Simonson in a sort of a desperation play, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's probably the worst call. Over the Cowboys. So, Gellin Mosby's in on the wing finally, with Hampton unfortunately out with the ruptured bicep, I think was his diagnosis. So that's not good news for him. But look, Gideon's he's a really, really fast player, like absolute lightning, but just not a really big guy. Not great for his base stats, but the attacking upsides were going to be there with a guy like Gideon. Unfortunately, look, this Cowboys team is not the attacking juggernaut it was when we last saw Gideon Gellin Mosby, with Thurston obviously still running the show. What do you think of Gideon in this modern day of North Queensland Cowboys side?
Yeah, wingers in teams that aren't going to score heaps of points, generally speaking, don't make for very good super coach players. So I couldn't really. I am happy with the waiver claim. A free agent claim with a view to that buy round next week, but I'm not that excited.
No, me neither. So he's probably just a free agency for mine.
Josh Maguire there, mate, on the extended bench.
Yep. Are you talking more about like a Hess and Cooper value?
I am just curious. So, with Taumalolo there, obviously Maguire was killing it when Taumalolo was injured. What happens with Maguire here when he comes back?
Oh, I'd say Maguire / Taumalolo. I mean, that doesn't really matter where they name them. They kind of, I think Taumalolo might go back to the edge for the start of the game and then push back to lock would be more likely. But you probably see something like Maguire starts in the second row and Hess back to the bench. But in reality, they probably, even though that's how it gets named, I think Taumalolo will probably play second row and Maguire at lock.
Yep.
That's probably, it's just my 2 cents. I don't really have too much of an opinion. I think Hess, it doesn't really affect Hess that much because he's been pretty useless for most of the year in terms of fantasy. So just kind of like the final nail in the coffin, really, for Hess.
Mm-hmm.
On to the Warriors. Now, Patrick Herbert, wow, he needs to be mentioned again.
Jesus. Yeah, that punt we said to take, I hope people did. Obviously, huge game. Mightn't be the worst either this weekend against the Bronx at Mount Smart. I refuse to believe the Bronx are, all there yet. Fire him up again.
Yeah, look, that's my bad, mate, because we were all about Herbert early, and then he scored like 23 the week before the goal kicking, and I was off him. And now after that, wow, it's pretty hard to not be back on him. So he's out there. He's a high claim. Other than that, I think he's about the extent of the Warriors' claims this week.
Too hard to get excited. Their forward rotation's all over the place, so I can't get on board there.
Yeah. Now the Broncos, they've left an unchanged lineup from the match against the Roosters, where they played pretty well and won. This is a really important match for Brisbane. I feel like they need to win this game just to make that Broncos game, that Roosters win, kind of get consolidated a little bit. Be typical Broncos to go overseas and lose this against the Warriors in a spot where they probably should win.
Yeah. In terms of fantasy, I mean, is this finally the time Katoni Staggs hit some upside? Because, boy, has he been disappointing in that regard.
Yeah, there hasn't been much there with old Katoni, has there? He's just been a bit of a 30-point centre winger, which is a story for most centre wings this year, unfortunately.
I think fire him up in this one. I think he'll get some.
Yeah, you're probably right. Look, there's no real waivers for the Broncos. I'm not interested in Shibasaki. And, I mean, Seguiaro is going to interest some people just for the fact that he played so well coming off the bench, but you just can't bank on that happening every week. He's not going to score tries every single week coming off the bench with limited minutes. The last game on Saturday is the South Sydney Rabbitohs at home to the West Tigers. Now, for South, Corey Allen and Hiroti, I think his name is
Hiroti, yeah.
Hiroti, yeah. So they've kept their spot at fullback and wing, and Ethan Lowe's pushed out to centre in place of Cole Turner. So just
what a couple of dynamic centres we have there. But they just keep on keeping on. We'll probably say don't start him, don't get interested. You watch him stroll over the try line at some point. So you know what? I'm just going to leave that one alone.
Yeah. Let's not touch too much on South. Let's go to the West Tigers. Fanua's out. He's dropped. The mullet is gone, and he's replaced by Momorovsky, not Nofaluma, which is pretty interesting.
I don't know what he's done, Nofo. I really don't. That is insanity to me. But anyway, apparently not good enough for first grade. I'm not really interested there in anything the Tigers have got to offer.
Yeah, so Momorovsky you wouldn't be wavering for?
No, I can't get on board with it. I mean, they're on a bye next week. Teams that don't play byes, like you're gonna have. It feels like Nofo should be getting closer, surely.
Yeah, you'd think so, but we keep saying that, and this is another big hit in terms of Fanua and now Momorovsky's value, and there's still no Nofaluma. So yeah, it's almost time to give up the ghost on him. Sunday, 2:00, you've got the Bulldogs home to Melbourne. Now, the Bulldogs have lost Ockenbaugh for 46 weeks, which is a pretty big blow because he's been playing quite well for fantasy of late. This just seems like the Storm by how many, really?
It does. You'd almost, if you're a Bulldogs fan, you'd be feeling good after last week. But yeah, I think you're right. Still not a strong side. Do we have, obviously with the Jackson's not quite been playing 80 minutes as much this year, I believe. What's the rotation there? Like, we're an IR 80. Well, how many minutes is Chris Smith getting there?
Well, I think Harawira Naira's, at least last week, I think he missed out on his 80 minutes just towards the end of the match. Because in this rotation, they've got 4 forwards on the bench. So Marshall King probably went 80, assuming this rotation was the same last week. I know Martin didn't get many minutes. So Chris Smith, it was a bit hard to tell because I think he may have gotten injured last week as well. So really your guess is as good as mine, mate. But Jackson's probably got to see upwards of 70 minutes this week looking at that team.
Yeah, it's in terms of waiverable options, obviously the a buy round looming. What's happening with Reece Martin, mate? What do we do here? Like, if you're an owner, you've probably drafted him inside the first 4 rounds. It's gone pretty much as badly as it could have. Short of that little run that he had in the side. What are we doing? We're just hanging on, put him as a number next week. But I mean, going to be tough to carry through the next bye.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, he's hardly a number next week because last week he got 16 minutes and scored 15 points. So I'll tell you what, this time next week when you've got to make that hard decision, because Josh Jackson's not playing Origin anymore. So this team is going to be exactly the same next week. If you've got Reece Martin in the bye round, you're kind of obligated to keep him because he's, as you said, he's a number, but you don't feel good about it, do you?
No, rough to be an owner.
You kind of have to just keep holding on because there's no value in selling him at the moment, really.
No.
Unless you can get someone who's, willing to give you. Well, honestly, like where do you value him? Like, I'm trying to think who you'd accept for Reece Martin and what's a realistic offer you'd receive. And geez, it's hard to gauge. Like a near Corey for Reece Martin trade.
Yeah. Like a lesser name that's having a decent season. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I don't know what else you'd really be fetching. Like as a Reece Martin, if you're only Reece Martin, I don't know. Considering where you would have drafted him, I don't think you'd be that keen to do a trade like that. So it's a problem that I'm personally pretty glad I don't have to be making. But yeah, like you seem to be a bit more optimistic, I guess, because you kind of mentioned buying low on him last week.
Yeah, I can still see a moment here where you take a punt and it turns around your season. Like for example, I'm a Tyson Frizzell owner who's actually been pretty good the weeks he hasn't been injured. Seems to be hitting sort of 50s and 60s somewhat regularly. Frizzell's going to make it a very tough choice for me next week as to whether I drop him or not, right? If I need a buy win. I can see an argument here for trading this week to try and get Reece Martin and just hope somehow that he ends up getting named after they get absolutely smashed by the Storm.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I don't mind that. Not the worst.
Sometimes you got to take punts, so I think that's a decent punt.
Yes. Okay, mate. So the Storm, they've got to have a few attractive options given the matchup. I think this is a decent week for Vunivalu if you're ever going to pick him up off waivers and play him.
Yep.
I think even Marion Seve might not be the worst play this week. He's not a huge upside guy, but I think he'll be solid enough in this type of matchup.
Sneaky plug. It's sort of the matchup where Nelson or Sofa Solomona will probably end up falling over the try line, as he loves to do.
That is true. Obviously, the big news too, mate, with Jerome Hughes coming back. Not surprising that he's back into the team, but the fact that he's taken Pappenheisen back to the 17 jersey is a bit of a shame for Pappenheisen owners because he was a high claim last week.
High claim. I remember talking about a bit of caution there just because of what you mentioned. I think you pointed out as well there was a red hot chance that he would have Pummy Hughes could have come in and replaced Croft at 7, but Croft appears to have kept his spot on the side, and it's not a great match for Pappenhausen to be on the bench because these starting players for Storm are going to look good. Yeah,
they are. They're probably going to keep this team now because they're probably not going to get beaten this week, not in this matchup. So anyway, Pappenhausen, just if you've got him, it goes without saying you're just holding him and seeing what happens there.
Just a quick mention as well. Felice Kafusi hits some upside. Oh, my God.
Oh, he scored a try last week, finally.
He did.
Off a kick, is that right?
Off a kick, that's correct. Off kickoff Munster. So, wow. Just for those who've had to hang on all year through his somehow just not even falling over the line once, it's been painful, but good to see.
Finally. Even a broken clock, it's right twice a day, mate. So you finally got one. Okay, on to the Sunday game. So 4:05. Actually, sorry, on the second Sunday game, last game of the round. Dragons are home to the Sharks. Now the Dragons have mixed things up a bit, which is pretty good to see because they had to do something the way that they've been playing. So Duffy's been dropped, which sees Lomax move back to fullback. You've now got Aiken starting at centre, and you've got Jonas Pearson coming in on the wing with Ravalawa also dropped.
Oh, there's a surprise.
You are not a fan of that guy.
not even a little bit. No, I think he's fun, but fun is also dropping the ball repeatedly and looking like you have no clue under the high ball or how to read in defense. So pretty much, yes, that's a good decision. Well done, Mary. I'm excited about this for Lomax, mate, and I reckon that is a good. This backline, like Jonas Pearson, I think he deserves a crack in the NRL.
Really?
I like it. I want to see him. He's exciting. I remember him back at the Bronx. Exciting player. Good luck to him. He can't be worse than Ravalawa. So, Ewan Aiken in there as well, I think has been slightly harshly done by as well. I think this back line is interesting. Zach Lomax is the big name I want you to talk about. Does this enhance his value? What is he going to be like as a fullback?
Much better for fantasy at least. Anyway, more runs, and he's got a bit of ball playing in him. I think he's probably a little bit wasted at centre, even though that is his more preferred spot. He just doesn't get enough early ball at the moment in the Dragons. So I think at fullback it'll really free him up, and he's going to have a lot more of a threat than Dufty did of hitting a 3-on-2 and getting some try assists. So I don't mind it. It's just a real shame he lost the kicking last week to Field. But as we do know also that Field will not he won't stay there the rest of the year once Norman returns. So
that's right. So could be a chance of a goal kicking fullback season on for Lomax, and you got to carry him through the bye round next week now.
Oh, I reckon he's a great buy low, and also he's a really good free agency pickup or waiver pickup because he hasn't really lived up to any billing at all. When I was high on him a couple of weeks back when he did get named in the centres. So now that he's at fullback, I think there's a good a shot as any that he got dropped last week. And weirdly enough, he might even get dropped in waivers tomorrow. Someone might actually drop Lomax for somebody else. So then you might be able to do the pickup that way if they're not onto the team lists like they should be. So
and just a quick one as well, Matt Dufty. Two things. So NRL career not looking great, poor fella, and he's easily droppable. Correct?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say easily droppable, but you probably do. Yeah, you're probably right. He's he's not like a fantasy superstar, Dufty, is he?
No, he's relied on tries. He's not because he's that little a fullback. He just doesn't have the work rate of a guaranteed starter. So
yeah, no, that's true. All right, mate. Our last team to look at here is the Sharks. I don't want to spend too much time on them, just because they've either got guys that you're going to be starting, like your Fafitas and Nakoras, Capewells, probably still Gallen. But then some of these backs you're just not interested in. Fecky, Dugan, Josh Morris, Aaron Gray. No. Bronson Xerri is the only one worth a discussion, I reckon.
What are you talking about, mate? Morris scored 90 against me. He's a gun.
Yeah, everyone scores 90 against you, though. It's not...
But, mate, considering the buy round, is Bronson Xerri is not even a guarantee to have to be carried next week. So it's, not much excitement here at the Sharks.
Yeah, see, if you're playing through the buys, do you drop someone like Xerri for someone like Arthurs or Hiroti or probably not Christian Crichton at the Bulldogs because that's probably a bit too far. But you get my gist. Do you consider dropping him for someone like a Gella Mosby who plays the bye just to get 1 week ahead of the game because the matchup there is good a chance of scoring what Xerri is week in, week out regardless. So do you just go a week early?
Mate, it's probably a good finish to the podcast by saying that for our season listeners, you can probably tune out now because you would already know this. But for newer sort of players, have a good look at whether you're obviously a league plays the buy rounds. Simon and I firmly believe it's a very good. We like leagues that do because it just makes it interesting. It keeps it fresh. A lot of trades happen. Have a look at and then the next step. So if you're playing the buy round, have a look at your opponent. Look at what he or she can likely drop, how many players they're likely to get to, what your matchups are of your players. And then I think it is good practice to start making decisions this week or even potentially a week earlier than this. But have a look. if you think there's a red hot chance you're going to drop this guy anyway next week, and maybe the matchup's not good this week, go ahead and get someone that'll play in the buy round. Get in there early. You should only have to free agent them, so you won't be burning a waiver claim, and it'll set you up for a win. So make sure you have a good look at your scenario.
That's a good point, because look, in the example we're talking about with Bronson Zeri, let's say Gideon Mosby does go out and perform really well this week, scores a try or two. Then next week you're like, oh well, not only did I keep Zeri and miss out on Mosby's points, I'm now going to have to try and waiver Mosby next week and lose the spot on the priority list for a guy that I could have just picked up as a free agent last week. And you really hate yourself for that, because you know that you just held on and there was really no reason for it, because you were going to drop him anyway. So unless the matchup is really, really important and you want to keep a player for that reason, yeah. Look, we all would prefer Zeri over Mosby. I'm not saying that, but with the buy round in mind, that extra week, yeah, I think you get the gist that I'm trying to get at. All right, mate. So that pretty much wraps up the teams. Now, to go through the priorities for the week, who floats your boat as a number one claim this week?
Gonna go with, in a pretty quiet week, very realistic that Zach Lomax is out there in a lot of leagues, and I like it. I think that might be one of those ones that you are quite happy with as the season goes on.
Yep, so you don't mind Lomax. I think he's pretty good too. What about guys like Tarpany, we mentioned? Also, Ewan Aitken, I think we threw around.
Tarpany is the clear second, because he will play the buy round, and he has some pedigree. He's a bit of a sort of a 40 base stat, sort of regular upside guy. So you're looking at sort of like a 55 average usually, or expected.
Yeah.
So I've got him as a clear 2.
Okay. No, I do see that too. Other than that, I think from that point there, you're just going based on team need, really. You're going, whether it is Cade Cust, you need a half, or Jesse Arthur's like we spoke about. Dylan Walker. What about Dylan Walker? Would you put him as a guy that's not dependent as much on team need?
I think so, just because he has that sneaky 5/8 eligibility as well and plays the buy round. He could be that sort of low-end rest of season starter in either position, especially in 12 team league plus.
Yep. And last thing is, I don't mind Jerome Luai either if you are in need, because I do think that it's more likely that Cleary does make Origin than not, but it's very close.
Okay.
All right. Just to finish us off, then we just got a couple of questions here from Chris Fletcher.
G'day, Chris.
Would you rather Dylan Walker or Patrick Herbert?
Oh, wow, that's juicy. Look, this is very easy to answer for me now. If you're playing the big buy round, I'm going to go Dylan Walker here, with a bit extra pedigree as well behind him. And I think once Turbo and DCE come back, that Manly side is going to be pretty potent. I'll just go Walker for that reason. If you don't play the big buy round, I can see why you'd want Herbert.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair. Best 2 second rowers out of Lachlan Burr, Gavin Cooper, Ignatius Parsi, Josh Maguire, and Josh Alloway. Maguire's a clear 1, so pick one
easily.
Cooper, Burr, Parsi, Alloway.
Oh, Cooper doesn't play Origin this year, does he?
Well, I reckon he might.
Guess he's still been.
We're struggling, mate. Queensland, we're struggling in the pack.
Yeah, we'll have more time to talk about that next week, but boy, are we struggling. Okay, so Cooper plays Origin. They all have.
For me.
Yeah, Burr's fine. These are not in it. Yeah, let's Burr then Cooper.
Oh, his third question is interesting because it brings up a player we probably should have spoken about: Connor Watson or Kieran Foran at 5'8".
Oh, I can't. It's very hard for me to ever be the Kieran Foran guy on that side. What's the matchup? Oh, not against Melbourne. No way. Connor Watson's been so disappointing though.
Against the Roosters, Watson now too.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I'm gonna say surely they're not the only two options. I know that seems like a bit of a cop out, but I am not excited about them even as starters. 16 team leagues. I'm going to presume this is.
It does not say. I don't think it would be. This would be a very realistic question for a 10-team league.
Jerome Luai.
yeah, I guess you could.
Will Smith in a pretty good matchup, I would prefer.
Well, mate, look, Kieran Foran's last 3 matches has been 79, 50, and 78.
Yeah, but I don't want to say it out loud. I know what the advice is supposed to be here, but I don't want to say it.
I'd go Connor Watson.
The in-game injury risk is just so supremely high for Kieran Foran.
Yeah, look, Connor Watson's been atrocious, but I'd still go that way. It goes against everything, any sort of reason, but I can't defend it. But I just wouldn't go for him.
We just can't.
Yeah,
it's not what you do.
And last one, we'll try up the ante a bit. Adam at Adam B Stock. AJ Brimson worth grabbing off waivers over Connor Watson.
Yes,
he is. But to drop, if Watson's your only 5'8", and you're going to go with Brimson as your only 5'8", I'd probably try and find a way to stash a 5'8" as well as Brimson, just so you got some coverage. See how that goes. All right. Thanks very much for that, mate. That wraps us up for the waivers, and we'll be back again next week.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys, and thank you, Simon. Cheers, boys.
Thanks. See you.